G'day, it's Jane from Thread My Bobbin and welcome. I hope you've all had a nice new year. Things are pretty quiet here, just catching up with family and enjoying the break, to be honest. I did get quite a bit of sewing done, which I'll show you shortly. I thought what I'd do today, because I showed my UFOs last week, and that was a lot of my sewing and finishes for the year. There were two other quilts that I worked on, and I thought I'd show those today because I've got a lot of new subscribers. Welcome. And then I'll show you where I'm up to with Blockheads 6 and where I'm up to with Christmas Stars quilt and a little bit about next year. So let's start with quilts that I worked on last year along with all the UFOs. Firstly is this one behind me, and this is the Quilted Witch by Laurie Holt. Now when I made this, I wanted to make it darker instead of a more country vibe, and I'm really pleased with how this worked out. People that have been watching me since I made this are familiar with it. My plan for next year with this quilt is to get all the embellishments on, get it quilted. I might add just a small border, and yeah, I want to get that done and finished. So I'll just briefly show you some of the blocks. Okay, so there's the quilt. It actually goes right up to the ceiling, but I can't quite get up there without getting on a chair. And I used 3 different backgrounds on this, and in the blocks there's different things like bats and spiders, some old writing here. Oh, there's another one with the bats in it. And yeah, basically did it in darker colors. With this, I just spent a fair bit of time patchworking the skirt to get it dark, and I'm happy with how it turned out. There's one of the spider blocks. Yeah, so that is my Quilted Witch, and that's something that I want to get. I have some different embellishments to go on the quilt, so I'm hoping to get in and get working on that fairly quickly. The other quilt that I completely finished last year was Grandma's Kitchen, and that's a sew along with Pat Sloan, and there is a playlist with Grandma's Kitchen videos in it. This is a bit of a look at some of it, as much as I can show here, but yeah, I really like Pat Sloan's patterns, and she has a sew along coming up in January that I'll be doing as well. But this is Grandma's Kitchen, and I did this mostly out of scraps with a little bit of yardage and fat quarters, but it was a great way to kind of use up a lot of the blue and yellow scraps. So that was my finish for last year. And that over there. I also made a few small tops for charity. Now this one, what I'm trying to do is instead of doing an after quilt when I finish a quilt, like Karen Brown talked about this, I'm trying to do an after project, a smaller project than a quilt, but to use up the scraps. So this used up the scraps from Sweet Dreams, which is another Pat Sloan pattern, and that was in my put together with my UFOs. And then to use up the scraps from Grandma's Kitchen, I put together this lap quilt. And so once my donation bag is full, they'll get sent off. And that was just using up the extra blocks that were left over and a few more scraps. So that turned out nice. Now I did start 2 quilts last year. One is Blockheads on the wall behind me, which I'll talk about in a second. The other was my embroidery quilt. This has flowers that get embroidered. I'm not sure if you can see that very well. I'll actually show you the picture. This has flowers that get embroidered along with Liberty fabric for the petals. So I did start that last year. That's going to be a ongoing work. It has slowed down a lot since Poppy, our new kitten, came along, because I usually do things like that in the morning when the house is quiet, and she just thinks embroidery is fantastic and keeps diving on me while I'm trying to do it. So it slowed down a lot, but I have a trip away shortly, so I'll take it on that and hopefully I'll get caught up. The other one I started is a pattern with scraps, which I can't think of the name of right now. So during the year I also started Blockheads 6, and I quite enjoyed that. I got busy near the end and didn't get all the blocks done. I have 2 blocks here to go. I've got those all cut, ready to sew, but I spent most of this week working on this quilt and working out how to lay it out. I tried a few different things, but what I decided to do was put the 4 star blocks around the center, and then I decided I wanted some 9 patches. I was originally just going to make them random, but I thought no, it would be really nice to make that kind of diamond shape around it, which I've done with the blue, and I'm really pleased with how it's looking. So this week I will sew those last 2 blocks and join all this together. I think it needs a little border, and possibly in the blue. So the fabric I used for this was a fat quarter bundle. It was Prairie Meadow by Laurie Holt. I don't have any blue left, not in any decent size quantity, but I do have this blue, which is in the similar tone. So I'm thinking, not that wide, but I'm thinking that that would be the you know, that will go with the tones in the quilt, and that will probably be a border, but it won't be quite that big, probably that wide. So this week, before I go away, I want to get that top completely finished. That's all I really have to say about last year's quilts. Well, the other thing I've been working on this week is the Christmas Stars quilt. So I'm going to show you now what we ended up deciding to do to fill in those little side panels, because we went through a few changes. So we'll have a look at that next. All right, so this is the Christmas Stars quilt of my daughter's that I talked about last week. And these pieces down the side, initially, I'll just go in a bit closer, I had been going to make square in squares down the sides. And we did that, and it just overpowered the quilt. It did the exact opposite of what we were looking for. So then we decided to mimic this type of look, and we came up with these, alternating them, just spread it out a bit. But yeah, that's what it looks like with those 4 sides done. And what I need to do now is, you know, quilt those 4 panels. I'm not sure if I'll get that done before I go away, but that's the next job there. And then once I've done that, then it's joining it together. I do think it needs a border, possibly in, again, this blue fabric. Probably needs something light around it to frame it, and then a border or binding in the blue. So that's what I got done on the Christmas Stars quilt this week. Now last year, at the start of the year and at the start of my channel, I had lots of ideas and goals for what I wanted to achieve in 2025. And I think I really overestimate what I'm actually capable of getting done. I don't think I'm necessarily a fast sewer. For me, I want to enjoy the process. So if that means that I stop and play around with fabric or play around with different layouts, I'm quite happy to do that. That's where a lot of the joy of the sewing comes for me. Yes, I want to get things finished, but I don't want to just rush through things for the sake of ticking them off my list. So when I went through and had a look at what my goals have been for this year, I did finish the Quilted Witch, which was one of my new quilts. A couple of the others that I'd wanted to do, I've made little starts on them, like cut out the pattern or sorted out fabrics. And I haven't necessarily shown those on the channel. But the good thing is that the quilts I wanted to make 12 months ago are still the quilts I want to make today. And of course, plus a few more. For the year ahead, I'm just going to continue on as I am. I think that I'm someone who's a mood sewer. You know, people talk about mood readers, and I'm definitely a mood sewer. So, you know, I might get up one day and want to sew something really complex or intricate that takes a lot of concentration. Other days I get up and I just want to piece things. I definitely want to do more scrappy sewing this year. I kind of didn't get as much of that done as I would like, working on small projects, and also, yeah, getting into some of those patterns that are on my to-do list. Of course, the big thing for the next 2 years for me is going to be Dear Jane. You know, and I've set that pace of 2 years so that it doesn't feel rushed, so I can enjoy it. So that's where I'm at the moment. I'm excited for 2026. I want to say thanks to everyone that has watched me, given me a shout out, left comments for me in my first year of a YouTube channel. It's been amazing, and I have really enjoyed the community here. The community aspect of YouTube is what I really like the most. So that's my plans for 2026. I will say too that we have some travel coming up, and last year we had you know, some family illness that took me away for a bit, and that could come up again this year. This is what I'm excited about at the moment, is getting this done. I really am hoping to have this whole top finished by next week. I will see you then, and yeah, again, thank you for watching. I look forward to hearing about what you've been doing. Let me know what's going on in your part of the world.